everybody, and welcome to Eternal Mooncast special program, Bishoujo Senshi Slumber Party. We're on the current adventure of the React series to the Sailor Moon DiC dub. This will be the discussion portion for episodes 36 through 40, which is the finale.
That's right.
Season 1.
Yep. Now, Sailor Moon has a long and rich history. Have you seen everything? I'm Relia. These are my friends Monica and Michi. We are 3 lifelong Sailor Moon fans who dove headfirst into the fandom and have stayed there ever since. We love being part of the amazing fan community surrounding this genre-defining series. If you've been watching with us and you'd like to jump to a particular episode, timestamps will be in the description.
Now, we know some of you may not have seen the DiC dub. If you want to watch along with us and enjoy our reactions, you can join our Patreon and get in on the fun. It's free. Please enjoy. The link is in the description below.
Now, let's dive into discussing episodes 36 to 40. Monica and I have watched them both in Japanese and in English to try and give a little more commentary about them. Japanese episodes, if you're following along with that, are going to be episodes 40 to 46. You may notice that is not the same number of episodes as 36 to 40. We are talking about 7 Japanese episodes that have been cut down to 5 the DiC dub. So this will be another Slumber Party where we are also looking at edits and deleted episodes that were taken out for the DiC dub.
Yeah, DiC really took a chainsaw to these episodes. Yeah. We will be summarizing each episode, talking about them, sharing our thoughts with you. We're excited to share our favorite moments, what we loved, and everything else in between. So go ahead and join that chant. Join that chant. That's what I said. Join that chant. Join the chat. Join the chat. Or post in the comments and let us know what you think about each episode too. This is a monthly show.
Every month we get together and we will have watched 5 more episodes. We come together to discuss those live. We do record our episodes for Patreon. If you want to watch our actual reactions with the episode alongside it, you can join Patreon. It is free, and watch those episodes along with us to experience the joys of DiC. It's so free. And then every month you can join us here on these streams. We will always advertise in advance when we are going live for the following month so that you can sit in just like now and watch us have our discussion portion about these episodes.
We want to say thank you to our citizens of the Mooniverse on our Patreon and our subscribers on Twitch. You helped make the Moony magic.
That's right. So the following statements are the personal opinions of Eternal Mooncast. Eternal Mooncast does not represent Toei Animation. We do not represent Viz, and we do not represent the Sailor Moon intellectual property in any way. We are just 3 idiots with opinions.
Let's begin with episode 36.
Absolutely.
So the DiC title is Last Resort, which feels so
fantastic.
90s.
That is a fantastic title. They were like, we've got a great pun here. We're going to roll with it. Spot on.
The Japanese title, and this is Japanese episode 40, is the legendary Lake Yokai, the bond of Usagi's family, which is just the plot of the episode.
That as usual, that there's going to be a legendary Lake Yokai, and it's going to be about the bond of Usagi's family. Is exactly what you should prepare yourself for. Strap in. Okay, what we know here is that Serena and her family have gone on vacation over what seems to be a long weekend to a local hot springs. Lucky them, I'm very jealous. While they're in the car, Serena drops her locket and she's like, oh no, it might break. And Kenji Papa's like, gosh, honey, why are you so worried about that? Did you get that locket from a boy you like? And then she's like, maybe. And so then, of course, he freaks out because he hasn't heard about any boy. He nearly drives the car off the road. He's like, how could you not tell your papa about this? No, of course you're just teasing me. Of course you would tell your dad. They get to the lake. The lake is where Kenji Papa and Ikuko Mama first met. Very romantic. Meanwhile, Kunzite has also detected energy from the lake, which is like Yoma-esque. It's not quite Yoma energy, but it's like got that vibe. And so Beryl's like, Prince Darien, you go check that out. Kunzite's like, okay, weird shout considering this was my discovery, but oh, okay. And Beryl's like, if you think it's so weird, you go keep an eye on him. At the hot springs, the family are hanging out. Serena and Sammy are roughhousing with each other. And in the course of this, Serena looks over the lake and she spots Darien standing by the lake. So immediately she's like, oh my God, this is Darien who's been kidnapped and evilized. I have to go look for him. When she gets down to the lake shore, she actually sees a statue of 2 lovers by the lake. And her locket suddenly spontaneously starts playing music. Darien is like intrigued by the music and he shows up again. He's now wearing his evil outfit, which is like an evil black leather jacket and evil black leather pants.
This is easily one of his best outfits.
It amazingly is. Like we are describing that he's wearing a black leather jacket and black leather pants, which is a choice, and yet easily one of his best outfits.
This is the thing he looks the least stupid in.
It is. It is. Beryl did one thing right. It was furnishing him with an evil wardrobe. Because she sees him there, Serena immediately appeals to him. She's like, Darien, it's me, Serena. And he's like, I've never heard the name Serena or Darien before. Note that even while evil, he is still called Prince Darien. So that is a weird shout from him. But he says, I don't know those names. I've never heard them before in my life. Ikugo Mama arrives because she was concerned when Usami ran off. And so, of course, Darien disappears. She sees Serena by the statue and she tells the story of the statue. And the story, I think it's the same in DiC as in Japanese. The angel who descended from heaven and a man falls in love with her. But another woman was also in love with the man. And so she got jealous and she turned into a monster and attacked everybody. And then the couple had to use the power of their love to seal the monster in that lake. So the legend goes that the monster is still in the lake somewhere. Ikugo Mama is like, yeah, that's the myth. It's all about how love saved everything. If you ever fall in love, you should really bring the guy home to meet your mom and dad. So this is, again, carrying on this idea of like them starting to maybe twig on to the fact that Serena does have a guy. Darien overhears the legend. And so he's like, oh, so there's a monster in the lake. He commands the monster to awaken. She does. Kunzite's like, lol, now what? The monster spots Serena from afar and immediately targets her. Serena wants to look for Darien again. She runs off for her family. The monster attacks her. The family sees her being attacked. They all run away together. Kenji Papa tries to protect them all. So then the monster attacks him. Serena is just on the verge of transforming to protect her dad. But then her parents would find out her identity when suddenly Tuxedo Mask appears, throws a rose to stop the monster. Then the squad appears, the girls. Serena gets away from her family when Mercury uses like Shabon spray and then can transform into Sailor Moon. They all try to attack the monster, but even her Moon Tiara magic doesn't work on the monster. And Mars twigs onto the fact that this is not a Yoma, this is a yokai, which is obviously a much clearer distinction in the Japanese. Tuxedo Mask admits like, oh yeah, I did awaken that. That was kind of me.
Whoops.
But I don't need your help. And then Mars is like, you do though. Like dealing with this kind of thing is literally my thing. Specifically, she like goes for the actual Akuryo Taisan to exorcise the monster.
Which she doesn't do in English, just to be real clear. Like she doesn't chant through the whole thing. But she does obviously do something.
Just her usual evil spirit be gone that she does. Moon healing activation, and that cures the yokai, then ascends into heaven as its own little angel. Serena reunites with her family, and then everybody enjoys the hot springs together. That's the episode.
Yep.
Like, what?
That's the episode. I'm shocked they dubbed this one.
Yeah, why this one?
Honestly, I think the only reason they I understand the existence of the episode. There's a few things in here that are important. I think it's important that this is the episode in which Serena's family start to become aware that there's more going on with her that she's keeping from them, not that ever develops into anything. I think that the legend of the two, the legend of the angel and the guy and the yokai is obviously figuring what we're going to then learn is the legend of Serenity and Endymion and Beryl. Like, so this is clearly a setup for that parallel. Again, not that goes very far, but this just, again, seems to be another episode where the important thing to establish is that Darien's evilness is not fully complete. Which has been established in other episodes. This doesn't feel like it was necessary to move the plot forward, other than just, again, establishing the power of the locket between them, which will ultimately be important in the finale.
It was a very pretty episode.
Oh, yeah.
I like
beautiful animation. I like it a lot. But in terms of if you were to cut an episode, This feels like one they would normally cut because it's not a Yoma, it's a yokai. Like fundamentally, this is an extraneous episode in that sense. This is normally the kind of thing they would cut. I enjoy a lot of it because it is just relationship building.
Yeah, I understand like your point about like this is very central to a bunch of other things. It's a framing of the entire conflict, and we get a bunch of interesting stuff. It is also exceptionally Japanese, which is really the reason why I'm shocked it made it in.
Yes,
this is such a Japanese culture episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. I'm not saying that in a sense of like an American kid couldn't possibly ever understand that Japanese people go on vacation to a nice natural location. Like, it's not a hard reach. But I don't really think anything in Sailor Moon is a hard reach. Like, some of the censorship around the Japanese culture stuff annoys me because it isn't difficult to understand. Like,
agreed.
We're talking about like people go to a hot spring in the mountain because they've got those, as opposed to like we're not talking about like high concepts of Buddhism.
And even if it's not immediately translatable to say like to explain what yokai are to a Western audience, it's not a hard concept to grasp.
That's really not.
It's a magic spirit. It's fine.
Yeah.
For purposes of what it serves in the episode, you could say it's a magic spirit. Not that I'm saying that's what yokai are. I'm not trying to be reductive, but in terms of what an audience needs to understand to appreciate the episode.
Yeah, you could also you could have dubbed it as like a cryptid too.
Yep.
Or an evil spirit or something like that. Both things, a haunt that would have landed perfectly fine for a Western audience. I have some of my notes. So in the little bit at the start in the Japanese episode, she says, "In the name of my dad, I'll punish you." And I thought that
yes, I noticed that, and I was sad it didn't occur in the actual episode.
Yeah, me
too.
I wanted
that to be the case. Like I was waiting for it when she did the "In the name of the moon," and I was like, "Oh no!" I really wanted it to be "In the name of my dad."
Yeah, that would have been really cute. It also would have been really cute to hear that in the dub too.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like something Terry Hawks would have ad-libbed.
Oh, 100% she would have. 100%.
Some of my notes from when we watched it through the first time, I'm shocked that they left Usagi losing her towel in the dub. That
as
happened.
am I.
This is the horny animation team, and as usual with the horny animation team, Kunzite's tit is out the entire time.
It really is.
But there's very little of people getting tied up in this episode or gooped. Two of their favorite things.
Yes.
Shockingly restrained for this animation group.
Yep.
It's good on yes.
With like Kunzite poop being out, Usagi's towel getting taken away.
They heard hot spring. That's all they needed was the hot spring, and they were good.
Yep.
In the Japanese, Kenji, rather than being like, "Oh, do you have a boyfriend you didn't tell me about?" pulls the sort of lightly creepy possessive father shtick. Which is clearly played for laughs. Like it's a joke. He like asks her basically if she's cheating on him while he's turning away from the wheel and has to drive for it, which is like clearly just to set up that physical gag. But I would love to live the rest of my life without a single other weird possessive father joke.
Father or brother, like just never again.
I would like to not ever encounter that outside of specific fetish content ever again. And I'm not even looking for that, so it can stay where I'm not looking. I also because I was watching all these with Julia, I have a bunch of notes. Every time she says something mean about Mamoru, she immediately says, "I don't think Kenji Papa would like him if he ever met him." I can't remember. Does Kunzite, like in Japanese, Kunzite's very clear that like there's a weird energy coming from this and that the yokai is similar to one of ours and that's why he's interested. And then Evil Endymion is like scooped as usual. Yeah, at this point, Julia reminds me that she hates Mamoru.
I love off-screen Julie, who's just like, I hate him. I know.
She'll be reappearing several times throughout this. So I also have a note that there's Kotono Mitsuishi, the woman who's the voice of Usagi, has some top-tier emotional voice acting in this episode. Just like she's very good at doing the like Usagi's having a little bit of a tantrum and it's very annoying, but then she also pulls off like genuine pathos. And I was watching it, I was like, this is why one of the reasons why watching things in its original language is worthwhile.
Yep. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah. I also have a note that says this monster straight up said, like when the voice actor of the yokai mostly makes like funny gremlin snarling noises. Like this much scarier monster noises in English, if I'm honest. in Japanese, she's like, and then like, it's so funny. I don't think it's supposed to be that funny, but it's so funny.
It is though.
Let's see. Oh, so did the DiC dub start with them leaving Luna behind with like a note?
No, I noticed the
Okay.
same thing.
So because the Japanese episode starts with Luna waking up and being like, where's everybody, with a note being like, we left for the weekend. Here's some food. You're a cat. You'll be fine. You're a cat who can call 911. You're extra fine. That makes the gals showing up randomly make way more sense.
Yes, like there's a whole, those are things I didn't cover in my summary because they were only in the Japanese episode. So in the beginning, the first thing, like Luna, she's like, yes, we've got a 2-day holiday. We're going to use this time for training and it's going to be great. Hey, where are you, Usagi? And then she like pads into the kitchen and she sees a note left for her. It's like, hey, Luna, we all went to the hot springs for the 2-day vacation. You'll be fine. Have a great time. And then Luna's like annoyed about this. But then later when the girls show up at the end, she's like, so what are you guys doing here? And they're like, oh yeah, Luna told us that you went to a hot springs. And we were like, you can't have all the fun. I liked the detail that because this wasn't a Yoma, they couldn't take their normal approach. And it did require Mars's spiritual approach to be able to subdue the yokai and get it to the point where then Moon was able to purify her. It was nice to have that distinction of like, what does it matter that she's not a Yoma? What's the difference? The difference is clearly like, it's not just that she's not part of Beryl's team, but that she comes from a whole different existence.
I also have a note that I really liked, that she gets to flex her occult knowledge in this episode. I also have a note that I'm very much missing Bob's fat baselines.
Oh, yeah. I think there are, especially in these 7 episodes, there are multiple moments in which I felt that the Japanese background music fell flat compared to the scene that it was attached to and didn't meet the moment. And this was definitely one of them.
Cool. That's all I have to say about this episode. Do we
Same.
recommend it?
No.
Nah.
I don't recommend like avoiding it, but I'm not like you should avoid it unless you just really don't want to see Kenji Papa being that guy at the beginning. But otherwise, no, it's a perfectly fine episode. I think there's things that are interesting about it, and I actually wish had been developed on more because it makes some promises of things that are interesting. But I also wouldn't say that it's like a top tier episode or a must watch.
Yeah. I agree. And then I just wanted to say for the cosplayers out there, look at this adorable 4 pose.
Oh,
that is really
that
cute.
Is great.
Yep.
Because we
if
don't
you're
get a lot
looking
of
for
this.
more group poses, there you go.
Let's move on to number 30. Give us that DiC title.
Tuxedo Unmasked.
And the Japanese.
Tuxedo Unmasked.
Yeah, it's fuck you,
That's
unmasks your tuxedo. So this is episode 41 with the sentence of a title, I won't run away from love anymore, Ami versus Mamoru.
Yeah, which I honestly think is a better title than Tuxedo Unmasked, which doesn't really relate to the episode in any way whatsoever.
No.
It's not a Tux-centric episode.
No.
But it's a great title. It's just not, it has nothing to do with the
They
episode.
think they had a title and they were like, where can we use it?
Yeah.
And then they couldn't come up with anything, so they used it here.
Yeah, and it's just so cute. But yeah, it features, of course, Evil Darian and then Greg. I love Greg.
Oh, yes,
Yep.
Greg's back. Our man.
I really enjoy the plot for this episode. I think this could have been, interestingly, multiple episodes in a way, or even like a movie. But it wasn't. It was an episode, so let's get into it. Where we start out is Prince Darian finds Andrew's girlfriend, Reika, or whatever her English name is, and 3 of the other rainbow crystal holders. He catches them all in the, again, Nephrite's black crystal, which really has gone the distance in this season. Next thing we see is that Greg calls Amy on a payphone and warns her that, like, oh, the 5th rainbow carrier has also been taken. You guys need to go correct Ray's grandpa or protect Ray's grandpa. Amy's like, why don't we come protect you? He's like, no, that's too dangerous. The reason that they're doing this is Beryl's like, we should regather all of them, even though they like failed the last time. They can actually all merge into one mega Yoma, and that was a thing during like the era of the Silver Millennium battle. And she wants that mega Yoma so that she can like take the Senshi down. So Amy and Lita decide that they're going to go look for Greg, even though he told them not to. But Darien finds him first. He like wants him to come quietly, but Greg pulls a straight up, that's my first. I don't know you. And flees in the crowd. This is what happened.
Amazing. That is basically what happens. Yeah.
It's so good. Like in the Japanese, he's like, that's a murderer. Get away from me. Meanwhile, Amy and Lita are looking for Greg. Lita's like, we should find your boyfriend. Amy's like, oh, he isn't my boyfriend. I focus on the mission. I don't have time for boyfriends right now. Lita's like, no, you're just afraid. You're making excuses to avoid this because you're afraid of it. They catch up with Greg, but Prince Darien also does, and he attacks them. So Mercury takes Greg and runs, and Jupiter's like, let's throw hands. Mercury calls for help, so the girls head out to go help her. Specifically, I believe just Sailor Moon and Luna go to help her because Ray and Mina stay with Ray's grandpa to protect him still. Apparently, Darien is a better hand-to-hand fighter than Jupiter for some reason.
I don't
He
believe
nearly,
this whatsoever.
I don't either. Like, that bothers me so much. He nearly kills her and then just decides not to. Greg leads them to an amusement park. Greg and Amy confess their feelings basically to each other. Darien activates a Ferris wheel for the drama, which draws Moon and Jupiter's nearby attention. Mercury attacks Darien. This has no effect. Darien gets Greg. He fights Mercury as Tuxedo Unmasked. She distracts him, gets the Nephrite crystal, and breaks it free. Everyone, R.I.P. to Nephrite crystal. Italy has finished its course. Jupiter and Mercury then attack Tuxedo Unmasked, immobilizing him, and Sailor Moon uses Moon Healing activation. So then it's only partly working, so she uses it even harder. And then he gets some of his Darien memories back. He yells refresh, he passes out. The Negaverse immediately teleports him back and puts him in the evil tanning bed again. Amy and Greg go on the Ferris wheel together on a date. The end. A lot happened in this episode. Like I said, I feel like this would have made for a good little movie if you had expanded out the plot. You'd had the opportunity for so much tension with the kidnapping. Yes, exactly. Like this would be perfect for an OVA because you can mount the tension of the Rainbow Crystal Carriers getting kidnapped and then trying to protect them, failing to protect them. And then like Greg gets involved with his precognition and all of these things. Maybe you have multiple attacks, a separate attack on Ray's grandpa at the same time. And so that's why they split the party and so much. With this episode, I feel like the idea was there with this episode, but they decided to just have it be one of them.
No, but and I'm sorry, but no moment will compare to when the little crystal is going around and then all of a sudden you see Hercules.
The cat. Yeah.
And I'm just like, not the baby Hercules.
So in the scene where after we see that Hercules is one of the first three that were kidnapped, there's a scene where Greg is like walking around on the streets after he's called Amy on the payphone, and he walks through a crowd, and Hercules' owner with a little like missing cat sign that's got his picture on it. She's trying to find him and he's missing. Like, it's never touched upon in the episode. It's just visually there. And I'm like, oh, no, she doesn't know why her cat is gone.
And I'm like, how could you do that to any cat owner? Like,
I know. So cruel.
Yes. See, I want that emote that we got for Sailor Denzel, the crying Luna.
Yes, crying Luna is so valid.
Let's see. My notes for this include that I was reminded when we watched the DiC dub that Amy's name is Amy Anderson.
Yep. Amy Anderson.
Yeah, this is a fun kind of a recap episode too, in a little bit, because you get a little reprise of these former characters from the same arc.
Yeah.
Same season, rather. Not really the same arc. Kunzite's tit is put away again. It was out, now it's put back in. Party tit was out, now it's back. Let's see. Someone at some point says that something is a nutsoid idea. I don't remember who says that, but I wrote down nutsoid idea.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Gorgeous.
In Japanese, the conglomerate Yoma is never named, but the DiC dub calls it the Invincible Shadow, which is sick as hell. That's a great.
Yep.
That's only an improvement.
It absolutely is.
But they're called the Seven Great Monsters in Japanese, which is the better name. They should have just combined the two.
They should
have
have.
seven great monsters, Invincible Shadow. Perfect. That's what
Yep.
they're called. Let's see. I also have a note that says Ami Baby Bubble Spray doesn't do damage.
Nope. It does not. It does not.
Nope. When Evil Endymion kidnaps Reika, he just zops her. She just like
She just gets stuffed up. Yep.
Yep. Julia really wanted Rio to kick Mamoru in the nuts.
I mean, it genuinely, that would have been so good. I was fine with that's my purse, I don't know you, but like also a kick to the nuts would have been equally on point and so good for him.
Then she said she actually really liked the way Greg solves that problem in what she described as a feminine way. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think given you saw my comparison to that's my purse,
I don't know you.
Yeah. There is a degree to which that is feminine coded. And I do genuinely enjoy that moment of his like practical problem solving of no, I don't need to fight you with pretend magical powers. Like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
It is genuinely
you cornered me on a busy street, man. Also, at one point in the episode, there is a Sailor Moon billboard.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, in one of the like cityscapes on top of the building is a billboard that says Sailor Moon on it.
Yes,
That's actually really cute.
Made it big.
And okay, but like at the end, they made me ship Greg and Amy even harder. And then I realized that the only other time we're going to see him is with the Doom and Gloom girls.
Yeah, unfortunately. It's a very cute couple. And unfortunately, that doesn't really get followed up on.
He's a high quality guy and he's really brave in this episode.
He is. He's fantastic. Like genuinely, I'm not a huge Amy fan. And I'm still like, oh, she bagged a good one.
Like she got a cute boy. Denzel asked, this episode was so good. How would you rate this episode compared to other Ami episodes?
Honestly, I rate it highly as an Ami episode specifically because I really like the character growth that she gets in it. The fact that there is this observation by Lita, who sees her so well, who's like, yeah, no, you're bullshitting. You're giving yourself excuses because you're scared to go for this. You really like him. And you need to take the plunge and set aside your fears and face that and like, don't let this opportunity pass you by. And then Amy ultimately does. She's like, you know what? No, I can tell I am being a coward because I can observe, Greg, that you are also being a coward. That makes it easier for me to see it myself. We are both doing that. Like, I think it makes for a really nice moment. And then like, obviously she knows Mercury is very aware that she like sucks at fighting. It happens a lot where she's just very aware of it. And this is a classic example where like we've just seen that Tuxedo Unmasked allegedly can outfight Sailor Jupiter in one-on-one combat. Again, no, he can't. For purposes of this episode, it was deemed that he could. And I think that sets you up for the idea then that the next person who needs to face him solo is Sailor Mercury. And she knows, she's like, if Jupiter couldn't do it, and Jupiter's really good at this specific thing, and I'm really bad at this specific thing, like the odds aren't in my favor. And yet she uses her only power that she has. Like she uses Bubbles Blast. She knows it can't injure him. She knows it just like is disorienting. And it doesn't even seem to be disoriented by it. And yet she still manages to feint him and get the crystal out of his grasp, which was her only purpose all along, smash the crystal right away. Like she outsmarts him at a thing she's not even good at, which is combat. So I think it's also a solid Mercury episode as far as like her battle contributions. Like genuinely, I would rate this highly compared to other Ami episodes.
Yeah, me too. I would agree with that. I was trying to think, I was spending your explanation thinking about trying to remember what the other Ami episodes really are. And a lot of them are like real focused on her being like smart, like directly smart. Like,
yep,
this is a thing she has to solve with logic, or like this is a thing she has to think around, but in a fairly direct way. And then this one shows her one, like, I was also thinking about this because I had described Greg as being, I just really like calling him Greg. I know he's got a Japanese name, but I like calling him Greg.
He's such a Greg. He's not a Rio, he's a Greg.
Yeah, he really is a Greg. He really is a Greg. Brave. And like, thinking about that, Ami is also being really brave in this episode. Like, put in a bunch of situations that are difficult for her emotionally, and finding a way to deal with that is brave.
Yes.
And fighting a guy who could beat you up pretty easily and then having to outsmart him so he doesn't just overpower you is also brave. But like one of those is more directly brave than the other.
Yeah, you get to see both her bravery in the face of danger, but also her bravery in the face of vulnerability.
And it's just something about also seeing her face in romance. Like, in a way, it evolved her that I didn't think that they would go. Because she's always the smart one. I never thought that they would take her as the romantic heroine.
Yeah,
So-
I like that she gets a chance to have that type of beat too.
And I like that. So there's a particular dynamic between Greg and Amy that I think really shows a side of Amy that we don't get to see because she's in contrast to him, which is that Greg is very fatalist. And we see this consistently in his episodes where he's like, he sees the future, but that to him means that he is doomed. He's always trying to sacrifice himself because he foresees negative outcomes for himself. So in his original Yoma episode, he was like, don't try to save me, Amy. You can't save me. Just save yourself. Just save the world. I'm a monster. You have to destroy me. And she's like, no, I'm going to save you. Like, believe that there is more to the future than just what you saw, because I'm going to do this. She gets to be what Usagi often is in that moment, which is hope and inspiration and rejecting a doomed fate. And again, he tries to do that in this episode where she's like, we'll come and protect you. He's like, no, don't do that. You can't protect me. Protect Ray's grandfather. That's fine. Don't try to protect me. You shouldn't try. And so she goes and does it anyway. And so multiple times he tries to get her to go away within the course of the episode. And each time she tells him no, like, we're sticking it out together. I think because they have that dynamic of him being low key such a fatalist, it really brings out the things in her that have grown and developed from her friendship with Usagi.
Yeah, this is a pretty good episode. Or do we recommend it?
Yes,
I do.
I think I do.
I think I've talked myself into it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think if I were
I'm recommending an Amy-centric episode, but yeah, I recommend it.
I know, right? Because usually, like, she's my least favorite, but it's a really good episode.
On my rewatch, I was also like, I know a bunch of people who are very much just like her. I've known Sailor Mercury has been a staple of my friend group often. I don't know. There's the affection that I have for these characters. It's just, I know this person.
You have a Mercury.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that's so lovable about the girls is that, like, they do represent various friends that I think so many of us have or have had, where you go, you know what? Yeah, I have had Amina in my life. I have had Alita. I have had, like, a Ray and like, I know those girls. Those are girls that I've been friends with.
Yeah. There's an apocryphal quote. I don't know if she ever actually said this, but it is one of the things that gets passed around was that Naoko Takeuchi basically said, like, I made the inner senshi to be people I would want to be friends with.
Yeah, like that's one of those, it's debated whether that's a thing that she ever really said or just has been so widely circulated, but I like it. You know?
Yeah, it's like it. If she didn't actually say that, she certainly succeeded at doing it anyway. Yeah. So like, it's true whether or not she ever came out and said it.
Yeah. And I think that's why we're so attached.
Yeah, I think that's
100%
the things that makes it a little bit timeless.
Yes.
Yeah. Like every so often we do every so often at conventions we do the meetup, and I see people who are much younger than we are there consistently, which indicates to me that like people are still watching it 30 years later and still enjoying it just as much 30 years later, possibly introduced maybe by their parents at this point, which makes me want to crumble to dust. But
I know. Great.
I don't have anything more to say about this episode.
No, great for
no.
As Silly said, great for life.
Let me skim my notes and see if there's anything else that I have in here. Again, I just want to reiterate for like the third time that there's no way that Darien can outfight Jupiter hand to hand.
No,
it's just
that was
just
a plot device.
Just incorrect.
Purely.
Yeah. Yep.
So do we want to save? So in between this episode and the next one, there is a Japanese episode.
Yep.
Do we want to save talking about that for the end? Do you want to top cut episodes now or top cut episodes at the end?
I think in a way it makes more sense to cover it now because that will give us 3 episodes before our break. And then the last 3 episodes, I feel like more go together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
2
and we're going
episodes
to
each,
have a
but
lot to talk about the last week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we can try to cover this one with some brevity.
This is a good episode. It's easy to summarize, and I don't think we're going to have a ton to say. Let's take it away with episode 42, which only has a Japanese title, Sailor Venus's Past, Minako's Tragic Love.
That's right. That's exactly what we're going to learn about. We start off in Crown Game Center, which is, of course, where they do all of their computing and meeting. They're in Crown Game Center, and we learn that everybody has been searching for an entrance to the Dark Kingdom because they're like, look, the Yoma are coming from somewhere in the city. Clearly, there's a portal somewhere in the city. Let's try and find it. No one has found anything. The game screen in front of them suddenly turns into a bunch of like weird sunspots. And Artemis is like, oh, this happened before when the Moon Kingdom got destroyed. The sun was covered in sunspots. Meanwhile, Metalia says like, or I'll awaken when the sunspots cover the sun. And Kunzite's like chatting with Beryl. He's like, great news. I found a female Interpol officer in England who knows Sailor V's real identity. I just want to reiterate, the Kunzite is always putting in the work. He's doing the most.
He does the most.
Oh,
He is the most important Heavenly King analog character. He's earning his title as the Heavenly King.
Leader of the Heavenly Kings. Yep. Meanwhile, Usagi's having nightmares again. Luna's worried about her. She advises self-care. She's like, make sure that you're sleeping and eating enough. Usagi's like, I am eating enough. Yo, I love eating. That's my girl. Artemis appears and is like, shit, Minako is missing. And then it turns out Minako is with a woman named Katerina, who was surprised to learn that Minako was still alive, and asks her evilly where to find the Sailor Senshi. Mina doesn't answer that and instead asks her how someone named Alan is. Katerina says he's great and gives her like a picture of photograph of the two of them together. Mina notices that she's still wearing a locket that Mina gave her for her birthday. And Katerina's like, of course I am. I would never throw out your gift. Then Katerina's like, yo, but again, why don't you tell me who the Sailor Senshi are? And Mina's like, no. And then she bounces because she's having emotions. Kunzite is there in the apartment with Mina. With Katerina. He transforms into a Yoma in order to further pursue Mina. The Yoma's name is Papillon. If you have read the full manga or seen the Cosmos movies, you will know that this is not the same character as Sailor Heavy Metal Papillon, just coincidentally also Butterfly Feet. So anyway, Papillon attacks Mina. She henshins into Venus and attacks her back. Unfortunately, Papillon knows her because this is Katerina, so she knows all of her attack patterns. She counters them. She captures her. She again is trying to interrogate her for the Senshi identities, but she's nothing. Venus notices the locket to Katerina. Usagi and the cats arrive. They're like, escape on that boat. And Usagi's like, I don't know how to drive. Use the disguise pen to turn into a sailor and steal the boat. So she does. I love the fact that the disguise pen gave her the powers of a sailor, which as Sailor Moon, she doesn't have. This becomes hilarious. Yep. They steal a boat with Venus. Papillon pursues them, flying because she has wings. They head towards a luxury liner that's also on the water. They climb aboard. It's empty. We never find out why. They look for a place to hide. Venus explains to them what's going on with her backstory. She says, like 6 months ago in England, I fell in love with this dude named Alan. I was also Sailor V. So one day I stumbled on a crime scene of monsters attacking a child. I saved the kid and I befriended the nearby cop who was also on the scene. She taught me how to speak English. She raised me like her little sister. Her and Katerina and Alan would hang out together a bunch. One day on a mission, Sailor V nearly died in an explosion. Katerina thought she had died, and Sailor V saw Alan comforting Katerina, and she realized that the two of them had fallen in love. So she didn't want to get in the middle of that, so she disappeared, even though she was in love with Alan, and this was very tragic. She decided it would be better if they thought she was dead. Sagi's very touched by this. She cries for her and for the tragedy of it all. Papillon finds them. Sailor Moon is like, this is not the fucking day, and attacks Papillon. The locket comes off. Venus sees that the locket has a photo inside, which is all three of them together, Alan, Katarina, and Mina. And so Venus gets very upset and begs Sailor Moon to save Katarina. Moon initially is like, she stole your man, no. And Venus is like, no, she didn't. He was never mine if he fell in love with her. Like, they had no idea. Please save her. So Moon heals her. Katarina reveals that she never knew about Minako's feelings, but then Katarina goes back to England. Minako stands on the pier looking incredibly sad, but she says, as long as they're both happy, that's all that matters. The other girls are like, wow, she seems so sad. And Usagi's like, Minako is so much more mature than the rest of us. She's so much more of an adult than the rest of us. And that's the episode.
I'm trying to remember because it's been a hot minute since I read Codename Sailor V, but I'm pretty sure those characters are in Codename Sailor V.
They are. I've read it recently.
Yeah, I was like, I think this is just directly a Sailor V tie-in, and a pretty good direct Sailor V tie-in.
Which, why would they cut it?
I don't get the decision to cut it. It's such an important character building episode for Venus. It also gives you the build up to the fact that they've been actively searching for the entrance to the Dark Kingdom. Like, this shows the proactiveness again of those Kunzite doing the most and being completely unappreciated by Beryl for it.
I think Mamoru is not on this episode at all, so I don't have any funny notes from Julia.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's not there. He, for once, didn't screw up one of Kunzite's plot.
I wonder if it was, like, too violent?
Oh, you know what I've heard a lot of from this episode?
What?
Because they tied up Sailor Venus and attacked her with butterflies. It was considered too inappropriate.
I guess she is all bondage tied up. But
they compared to so much of the other, bondage they've included.
Exactly. I was just about to be like, it's just as horny as anything else. And the DiC just either leaves it in or cuts around it.
Yeah, so it's like, why wouldn't they just cut it?
I think maybe DiC felt that this was a bigger implied age gap than what's going on with Darian and Serena. You can't cut Darian and Serena. You could have obviously made them closer in age, which they are. But but I feel like because Alan falls in love with an Interpol officer, she clearly has to be an adult of some amount. Therefore, he's probably her similar age. Therefore, Alan and Mina implies that she was 14-year-old girl in love with a fully adult man off living his life. I don't know.
So at the end of the episode, I was just, so she, I guess you could, if you squint really hard, you could read the police officer's relationship with her as gay, but that's an adult woman and a middle schooler. That's clearly a familial relationship, right?
Yeah, and they specifically say in the Japanese, she was a sister to me multiple times.
Right. Yeah, and also that gives it the context of clearly this international agent discovers this teen superhero who is fighting literal monsters and is I think I have to take care of her.
Yes,
I think I have to adopt her immediately. And then, she and this other dude who, care for this 13-year-old get into a relationship. The 13-year-old definitely had a crush on him.
Yes.
That's how I read it.
And that's how it comes
Sailor
to me as well. Yeah.
No, because Sailor B, she's mostly thirsting over Ace.
Yes. Who is her age?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's, we better.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it was cut. I'm going to go ahead and recommend it. I think that it's really good Venus lore.
So trying to see if other notes that I didn't read over, you summarized everything. That's fine. We
again, still no idea why that luxury liner was empty.
Yes, not explained. I have a note that says, didn't think that boat plan was going to work, but by God, it did.
Right.
And then another note that says, I guess people turn into monsters internationally.
Yes.
That's all I have to add for this episode.
What's really funny is it makes more sense to add in a backstory, whereas what I went through was just Hot Spring. All of a sudden, they hate each other.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it.
Yep. That's how that goes.
Do we want to do the next one and then take a break?
Yeah.
As then we have the marathon of the end to get through.
Yeah, the end a lot.
Yes,
Yep.
this is the last sort of, I don't want to say silly episode, but it's the last silly episode. Let's move on to episode 38. Hit us with that English title.
It's probably one of the worst titles. Factitious Friends.
Yeah, it's not
It's
not a great title.
It is about the episode content, but it's bad.
It's not good. The episode 43's title is Usagi Abandoned, the Falling Out of the Sailor Guardians.
That is also what the episode is about.
Huh?
Yep.
Like, I will rank Factitious Friends or Factitious Friends, whichever one they went with, over Tuxedo Unmasked, just because that's literally not what the episode is about. But that's about as high as I can rank it. It's just not, it's not punchy, even though it's littered. We open this episode in medias res. The Senshi are chasing Sailor Moon and they attack her. We see that there is a ninja Yoma lurking in the shadows, witnessing all of this. She reports back to Beryl and Kunzite, and she's like, yeah, they fight. This is wild. And Beryl's like, this could be interesting, but how do we know if it's real? And Kunzite's like, let me have my Yoma keep investigating. So the ninja Yoma's like, I need to instigate more Senshi interaction. So she breaks into Naru's mom's jewelry store and like starts stealing jewelry in order to draw out Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon arrives. The other girls arrive with her. And then in the course of their saving the day, the girls and Sailor Moon get into a fight again. The Yoma, meanwhile, turns into like a hippie tabloid reporter and starts trying to interview them on the seat. Then the Yoma gets away as far as they know. Meanwhile, the next day, the reporter then finds Serena and Molly walking to school discussing the incident, and she like then tries to interview them about it and again get information, but they run off because they don't want to deal with this. The next night sees the Senshi battling again, this time at Rei's family shrine, but this time it turns out that they're like training for battle. They're not arguing with each other. They reveal that it was actually Sailor Moon's plan to stage a fight and trick the Dark Kingdom into inviting Sailor Moon to their pad so that she can then rescue Prince Darien. But they discover that this reporter is like already published stories about, oh, the Sailor Scouts are fighting. So Serena's like, I better investigate, see what kind of dirt she's got. She goes to the reporter's home to investigate her and gives her a letter that's from Sailor Moon, inviting her to meet her at night for an interview about her desire to give up being a sailor soldier. They're like, we have to push this narrative. That's the whole plan. Sailor Moon goes there at night. The interviewer's there, but she's like, surprise, motherfucker, I'm a Yoma. And Kunzite is also there. He's like, surprise, motherfucker, I also showed up. And she's like, that wasn't the agreement. The Yoma invites Sailor Moon to join them and be evil. Sailor Moon's like, no way. Kun's like, how about it? Kunzite's like, but how about if you just come with us so that you can see Darien? He's hurt pretty badly. Who knows what kind of shape that he's in right now? You better come see him. I'll take you with us. And Moon's like, okay, then I'll do that. He opens a portal, but the Yoma's like attacks Sailor Moon. Is like, no, I want the silver crystal first. And the girls are like hiding in the bushes because this was the plan. And they all like, they want to save her, even though they know they're not supposed to. They're supposed to let her get taken to the Dark Kingdom. Like, you really want to, though, because that's their girl. Stops them. She's like, you can't. We have to stick to the plan. Jupiter's like, Jesus Christ, do you really hate her that much? And Mars says no. She shows that she actually has the crescent wand with the silver crystal on it. She's like, would I be carrying this wand for someone that I hated? She entrusted this to me. We have to stick to the plan. So they try to stick to the plan, but in the end, like, none of them can take seeing her suffer. And Mars is like, screw it. We got to go in. And so they go in and save her. Kunzite reveals that like he literally knew that this was all a setup all along. He's like, I knew this was bullshit. They all attack him. Kunzite disappears. Sailor Moon kills the reporter. That's the episode.
Cool.
It feels like a quick episode somehow.
It's all action. It's all action.
It's when Kunzite's in the room, it's all action somehow.
Yeah. I think the DiC dub has some extraneous stuff cut out of it. I know it's all the DiC dubs are shorter than the Japanese episodes. So I think that is one of the few cases where it winds up being just a little bit punchier, because there are a couple places where this episode's timing is a little off.
Okay.
Yep.
In Japanese. So in English, the Yoma's name is Ninjana, and in Japanese, her name is Oniwa Bandana.
Yep. And she says Bon
Bon.
all the time.
All the time, the whole time. I think that's a tokusatsu thing. Like to have a monster say an onomatopoeia, like as part of their gimmick. Because I think that's supposed to be an onomatopoeia relating to being a camera or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yep.
I don't know. That's my best guess. And I think that's a tokusatsu thing. And I wish I knew the context for where that came from. Like any tokusatsu fan is watching this and wants to regale me or us with the history of why do the monsters talk like that? I would love to hear it.
Genuinely,
like, where does that come from? Yeah, we genuinely want to know.
We want to know.
Yeah, I would love to hear someone's expertise on the history of that, where that came from. Is that like from some kind of Japanese theater? I am genuinely curious about where that comes from. Was that a thing that was like ad-libbed by the guy in the suit? I don't know. I would love to know. But that's where I think it comes from. Yeah, I have a note that says, this fucking ninja says Bon like she's a Pokemon. I have another note that says, poor Molly always getting robbed.
I know, it's always Molly. It's always Molly in the first season.
She's a jewelry store owner in a superhero series. The only way she could possibly have it worse is if she lived in Gotham.
Yeah.
Kunzai's cleave is out, but his tits are put away.
Yeah, what animation team is this?
This is the nice animation team. They are a little bit horny, but not the horny animation team. But their work is pretty.
I have a note from when we were watching the DiC dub that says, is this more coherent in Japanese? And the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is more coherent in Japanese.
Yeah, you get more of the flow of the fact that it was their plan, what the plan specifically was, and how it was meant to go.
Yeah. And then also that in Japanese, it is not a good plan. Kunzai is not tricked by this at all.
Nope.
Oh, really?
No. Not even a little.
Tricked.
No. Indeed, I try so hard to make it seem like he gets tricked.
No, like in the Japanese, he's like, I'm just gonna go along with this because it's gonna just lead them all right to me. Like,
exactly. Yep.
He's not fooled even a little bit.
No, to be fair, it's a bunch of 14-year-olds. Like, they're trying their best.
The closest thing to it working is that he didn't catch that they were all immediately right there.
Okay.
Like, the Yoma hears Sailor Mars say something, even though she's being quiet. Like,
wow.
Monster hearing or whatever. The newspaper, the reporter's cover name is Nancy Vargas in English. She's writing for the Daily Surprise, and they have her be like, I'm Nancy Vargas with the Daily Surprise. I'm a reporter. You're right, like
reporter voice.
Yeah, I'm a reporter. Got a scoop for me, Dane. Like in Japanese, her name is. I did write it down. Where did it go? It's like, oh, there it is. Nana Asahisa. Asahia. Peace. Nope, I was right the first time. Asahisa. And it's the weekly Dokri with 2 Ks is the name of the thing. And she's a tabloid freelance writer.
She's a tabloid,
Yeah.
She in DiC, like they make it out like she's normally like an environmental reporter who cares a lot about like deep dive pieces, but for some reason is now doing this like pat piece. Whereas in Japanese, she is a tabloid reporter.
Yeah, she's a tabloid.
That is just what she does. And this is just her doing her thing.
Also, fun fact from the Sailor Moon wiki, did you guys know this is one of the few times that nobody transformed?
Yeah, I guess they're all already transformed through the whole episode.
Yep.
Usagi, you see her in her street clothes, but I guess you don't see her transform.
You don't see her transform. Yeah, they keep cutting straight to the action. Like I said, this is a very like in the action episode. They really cut out the extraneous bits.
I also have a note that says Kunzai's eyeliner is flawless in this episode.
Yeah, I told you, it's the good animation team.
Yeah. They're explicitly trying to get, and in the Japanese, they use the word invited to the Dark Kingdom. They're trying to get invited to the Dark Kingdom with this plan. And then Kunzai shows up and calls their bluff and summons the dark hole, the evil portal. And then Usagi's like, I don't know, that's scary.
Yeah, she's like, that's a really evil portal. It looks really evil.
I don't think I want to get an evil portal.
Yeah. She writes though. She writes.
Yeah. I also have a note that says this plan would have worked on Jadeite.
Yes, he really would have. So would have. He would have fallen for that in an instant.
Yeah, he would have been like, look, they're fighting. Let's take advantage of it.
He would have made that work.
Exactly.
Also, in Japanese, they immediately figure out that the reporter is probably a monster.
Yep.
That immediately. Like,
Yep, they know. That's specifically why she goes there.
I gotta say, normally there's some excellent DiC trash talk in this episode. There's some trash talk in this episode. The Japanese trash talk is not bad.
No.
Usually it's kind of lacking, but it's pretty good this episode. Mercury says, "Goodbye, stupid girl."
Yeah, because they're playing up them talking trash to Sailor Moon.
Yeah, they have
just be like, "Goodbye, idiot."
Yeah, fucked idiot. Like, so good. Yeah, there's a couple other good moments like that too. Oh yeah, at the end, Usagi is like, "When have I ever been a crybaby?" And Ray gives her the exact time down to the second.
Yeah, but 48 seconds.
Yeah,
read out loud.
Which, like, they get into some deep trash talk at the end there, but I think in this case it's much funnier in Japanese.
Agreed.
Yeah, she's like, "You're being such a baby," and Usagi's like, "When have I ever been such a baby?" And she's like, "At exactly this time, actually."
She reads her for Phil.
But it's great. It's really fantastic, and it comes across more. That line in particular comes across more like two friends giving each other shit than a lot of their other things, which is just like, you're just bullying her.
Yeah.
Also, when Usagi and Naru are walking to school in the DiC dub, they're having a totally unrelated conversation. I can't remember what that thing is talking about, but in Japanese, Molly is just telling her about what happened. Like, we got robbed, and the Sailor Scouts showed up, and there was a monster, and they were getting in a fight. She just recaps exactly what happened to Usagi, who's like,
"Yep.
Oh, wow. That's crazy."
Usagi's like, "That doesn't sound like Sailor Moon. I don't know about those other girls, but Sailor Moon's cute and nice."
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
She was probably so done with the other inners.
I had a note where I was like, what are they actually talking about? And it's Molly telling her what happened, because of course she would tell her what happened, which makes the reporter interrupting them make more sense.
Exactly. Because she's like, "Oh, they have information about Sailor Moon. Let me get that."
Instead in DiC, it's like left field. This lady just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it comes across because they changed the context of that discussion, and it comes more across like the Nancy Vargas with the Daily Surprise is actually like actually maybe suspects Usagi or guesses maybe from her appearance and puts that on the monster for figuring it out instead of her just overhearing a conversation literally about what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's like, okay, what do we think? Do we recommend this episode?
God, no.
No, it doesn't like offend me.
No.
But it's also like, I like the idea in the broader context that, again, they're being proactive. They're trying to hatch plans to get to the Negaverse. It's showing that Sailor Moon specifically is trying to proactively like be a superhero, but the episode doesn't justify its runtime. Like, again, I think it's one of those episodes that it's valuable to show Usagi's progression, but that they didn't do an interesting job of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I think that puts us in a position to take a break. And then when we come back, we have
The big ones.
DiC episodes, but 3 Japanese episodes to talk about.
Yep.
There are some doozies. So stay tuned. This is episode 39 of the DiC dub. Get us that English title.
The Past Returns.
And episode 44 of Japanese is titled Usagi's Awakening, a Message from the Distant Past.
Which is similar to The Past Returns.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't
similarity.
And it doesn't quite give away the whole plot either.
Yeah, it's not the typical, like, Jedi fucking bites it. In fact, a character bites it in this episode, and it is not spoiled in the title.
Correct. Yeah. All right, so let's take it away with this synopsis.
All right, so we open. Venus and Artemis have summoned everyone. They have found the entrance to the Dark Kingdom. Just in, like, some ice cream store or something. They all climb down into a cave. Kunzite intercepts them. Jupiter attacks him. Kunzite demands that they give him the silver crystal. He attacks them, and he actually very nearly gets the wand. It's like flying away from them. But then they get teleported by the wand to the moon ruins. Hello, Max. Look at him. Look at that baby.
And Mag, such a good boy.
Boy. He shows up to be loved on. All right. At the moon ruins, they see like a tiny little version of Queen Serenity. She greets them. She gives them their whole backstory. She tells them that it was once the job of the Moon Kingdom to oversee the evolution of the Earth, and that Serena fell in love with Prince Darien from the Earth. We see Prince Darien arrive at a moon ball, and he warns her that the Earth has been overthrown by Beryl, who's now hell-bent on attacking the moon. The Senshi try to fight the invading Earthlings, but Beryl, her generals, and the Greater Yoma overpower them. Beryl then attacks Princess Serena directly. Prince Darien protects her. Beryl's like, you should marry me, though, and then we can rule Earth and the moon together. Darien is not down to fuck. She tries to, like, tractor beam him anyway, but Serena jumps in after him. So Beryl just, like, attacks them both, and they both die. Queen Serenity sees this. She gets really sad about it. She uses the silver crystal to basically reincarnate all of them, but at the cost of her own life. So then, having witnessed all of this, everybody gets teleported back to reality. Luna and Artemis, meanwhile, have gotten to the end of the cave because they didn't get teleported away with everybody else to get a flashback. They don't need it. They reach the end of the cave. They find that they are in the Arctic. It's very snowy and very cold. They find a very evil-looking hole in the ground. And they're like, that's clearly the entrance to the Dark Kingdom.
It's this very funny moment where Mercury is like, according to my calculations, there's an evil hole over there. And then the camera just pans over to the evil hole.
Biggest, most evil-looking hole you've ever seen. Yep. Yeah,
we can get a transformer.
The very obvious evil hole in the next episode. It's great. But Kunzite intercepts and attacks the cats. They fight Kunzite, but he throws evil boomerangs at them. The scouts are like, everybody arrives. They unite their power to protect Sailor Moon. He throws more evil boomerangs. Sailor Moon uses her moon healing activation on him. He chucks another evil boomerang at him, but she flicks it back at him with her wand. It lands right in his chest. He bites it. And then the cats are basically like, we gotta storm the Dark Kingdom ASAP. And that's the episode.
Goodbye to the 4 Heavenly Kings.
Yep.
This episode's pretty fun.
This episode's good.
It is. Yeah. It obviously is very much a moving the plot forward episode. Like, bam, they suddenly found an entrance to the Dark Kingdom. They go in. Kunzite's there. He's attacking them. I think this episode hangs together a lot better in Japanese, where there's some more explanation of what is Kunzite trying to do? What caused this teleportation thing to happen? Also you get an absolute banger of a line when Kunzite dies. We will get to that later. I guarantee you also made note of it.
I sure did. I have a note that apparently someone in the DiC dub said we wasted Queen Serenity. Among another, I have another note that just says so many 1995-isms.
Yes.
I vaguely remember talking like that. The DiC dub is cut up in a way that's like all these things happen because reasons. What happens in Japanese is a lot more interesting and a lot weirder.
Yeah. So in Japanese, do you want to explain what Kunzite is actually trying to do?
Yeah.
Because he makes it very clear in Japanese, and it feels very threatening.
Yeah, I wrote down exactly what it's called. He's using his dark spell to banish them to a multi-dimensional chaos world. And then he explicitly threatens them with sending them back to dinosaur times, or perhaps to World War II.
Yep. Or perhaps to World War II.
Very powerful thing that he attempts to do them, and appears to seemingly successfully do, but because the silver crystal interferes with it, it instead sends them to a beneficial place within this time and space dimension, which is where they can go to the Moon Kingdom and get an info dump.
Yeah, so rather than the DiC dub, and because reasons, we're going to have a vision of the past.
Yeah.
Right? They literally get time traveled. He casts a dark spell to banish them through time. He says Europe in a time of war, and I interpreted that as World War II, but you could pick a bunch of good ones. So he straight up was like, I banish you to the past, fuck you. And then there's this great moment where Usagi drops the moonstick. It falls through space, through the air slowly and dramatically, because he's also warping time. And he reaches for it, bumps it, and instead of grabbing it, it flips around and slaps him on the fingers.
Yep.
And that's what makes his dark spell go wrong.
Yep.
And instead they get literally banished to the past, and they go to the past and are there for watching this whole thing unfold.
Yep.
Which is way cooler, actually.
It is genuinely way cooler. I love that. It really, again, ups the stakes of how incredibly impressively powerful Kunzite is.
Yeah.
As Lasquita pointed out, Kunzite remains the best hench person. True.
It's true. Very true.
Yes, very true.
But yeah, I think it really ramps up what Kunzite was trying to do there, as opposed to him just being like, no, go away. It's not time for you to fight us yet. Blink boomerang.
Yeah, I hate it when I get it randomly transported into the past. I left that as a note.
Yeah.
Oh, remember when we all screamed Sailor Neptune at the screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sailor Neptune spotted.
Yeah, there's a scene in which, so when Queen Serenity is transporting them all to be reincarnated into the future, like the Senshi, each in little bubbles, and it's obviously all of the inners, Serenity and Prince Darien there. But they had to fill in some space with a few more things that they hadn't animated, so there's some random characters in there. And one of them is a Sailor Senshi that just absolutely looks like Sailor Neptune. So we all
like Sailor Neptune.
Sailor Neptune spotted.
Yep. Let's see. This is also a case where we get a full explanation of what Metalia's deal is, which I don't think is in the DiC dub, because the DiC dub decided that Metalia doesn't exist.
Yeah, the whole, I think it's Metalia being like the evil son is more explicit in the manga, and then in the Japanese, that connection there, and that's never a thing. There's not really any Metalia as its own. It's a negative force. It's not clearly an entity in the way that it is in the Japanese.
A lot of iconic images in this episode.
For sure. Very much. Why did I say it like
This was
that?
the good animation team. I
This
mean, as
is
you
the
noted,
great
this is
animation
how people
team.
talked in the 90s. For sure.
For sure. Go bleach your roots, creep.
We've said enough for a minute, but let's talk about Kunzite's death.
It's so not
I wrote down
befitting
the
him.
line.
It's
Did you
not
write
befitting
down the
him.
line?
I didn't write down the whole line. I just
You
wrote
did.
down, damn, what a good line. Right.
Okay,
Lay it
so-
on us then.
All right, Sailor Moon uses moon healing escalation on Kunzite, and Kunzite furiously yells, I am Kunzite, one of the Dark Kingdom's 4 kings of heaven. You will never make me shout refresh.
And then he calls out to Zoisite.
Yes,
right after.
he
Yeah.
calls out to Zoisite and is basically like Zoisite in the interstitial dimension of hell where you've been sent, prepare me a place, something like that.
Yeah.
It is again darkly romantic, but that is after he said, "You never
make me
shout
sound refresh.
That is hilarious. They did not say that in the DiC dub.
No, he goes
Oh.
out like a chump in the DiC dub, but he doesn't
Yeah.
in Japanese for
No.
sure.
In Japanese, he is like, I have my dignity. Absolutely not will I shout.
He's taken. No, he's taken his last shred of dignity to the grave.
He really does. It's sad because he's so cool throughout the entirety of the season, and then he trips at the finish line.
He's gotten fucked over by Mamo so many times.
Yeah.
The man could have succeeded 8 times over at this point.
He really could have. It was all
But he didn't have the backing of anybody. If Beryl had backed Kunzite the way that she consistently backed Endymion,
or even
would-
Jedi.
sure, true. She did give Jedi a lot of chances.
If Kunzite had the backing of Beryl the way the Jedi did, he could have done something with it.
Yeah, that's true. But it's sad. Poor Kunzite.
I don't know if it was by then, she was just you're all useless.
I think she was just because Kunzite took over at the same time as she got Endymion, and she was just so horny for Endymion that it was all she ever thought about. She no longer could notice that her most competent dude was trying to get stuff done, and she kept allowing her little boy toy to fuck it up.
I have a note about this episode that says the girl has been playing the longest game just to get this exact dick.
That's right. That is
Like,
correct.
such a long game. Such a long, sad game.
All for this guy.
That guy, him. that.
And he can't even dress well. But what did we think of Mama Serenity?
In the past?
Yeah, because it was technically Mama Serenity.
Yeah, so the first, or at least Bud the Elder. I think that, so it's complicated. You have to accept the conceit that it's not inherently paternalistic for the people of the moon to be supervising the evolution of the earth. You have to accept that's not inherently problematic, and it is. But if we were to accept that actually, like, because she is descended from Selene, the goddess of the moon, and divinely has this power to try to guide the earth in a positive way, like, if we assume that's a good thing, then she's a good person trying to do a good thing. But you still have to contend with the fact that I think, especially in the DiC dub, it very much comes off like she's only making this great sacrifice because her kid died. And that comes off a little bit less noble than the idea, which I think comes through a little more strongly in the Japanese, which is that when she sees that Beryl has killed Endymion and Serenity, it becomes clear to her that this is not a winnable battle here and now, and that the best chance she can give everybody is to use what power she has to seal this away to the future. Like, I think it comes off a little better for her in the Japanese than I find that it comes across in the DiC. But again, that's accepting the idea that it is okay for a noble people to supervise some other less evolved people.
Yeah, I think you have to buy into that the same way you buy into like a Fire Emblem, where you're like, yes, I'm a monarchist for the next 60 hours. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, like, is this for real? Would it be bad? It'd be really bad, but this isn't real. So cheers to that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So like so these last couple episodes are pretty interesting in the context of having just watched Cosmos. Oh, by the way, we were watching through both halves of Sailor Moon Cosmos, which should be up on Patreon.
One half is.
Well, the other one we haven't
by
watched
this
yet.
time, but by this time this gets posted to YouTube, the other
both
half will
will
be up on
Yeah,
Patreon.
yes. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. And I was like thinking about your Michi's specific dislike towards Buns the First.
Yes.
And like her whole like, I'm gonna send you to the next life to like have a good and better life, and everyone kind of has a rough go of it.
A really shitty life. Yeah.
No one has the same supportive family unit that Usagi
does.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the second half of Cosmos, but like, compare what they grew up with versus Galaxia, and I think she's the model of like someone who didn't have anything good go for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, even though some bad things happen in those people's lives, they have pretty happy, ordinary lives. Like, they go to school, they've got friends, they have a roof over their heads. Like, even Mako, whose parents are turbo dead, is like somehow living in a government apartment or something. I don't really know how a 14-year-old has her own apartment. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. This is very unclear.
So, like, the motif of, like, a teen who lives on their own because their parents are dead and somehow have an apartment provided for them in some capacity and seem to do okay shows up in anime enough times that I'm like, what real thing is that rooted in? Like, because a lot of things that are sometimes fictional like that are based on something loosely real. Or like a situation that happened once that caught the popular subconscious. So was there one famous kid who lived on their own for a while and inspired everyone to make characters like that? Is there like a program that you could be emancipated in Japan at like 14? Like, and then live on state housing or something like that? Like,
maybe.
It's much like the Tokusatsu question.
Mako does. Like,
yeah. Much like the Tokusatsu question, if someone actually knows the answer to why that is a trope, I would love to genuinely actually know. Like, like, is there a Japanese law that allows you to be emancipated and an adult at 14 if your parents are dead? That wouldn't shock me.
I would love to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I don't remember what that tangent was. I wandered into the weeds.
All right, are we going into the finale?
Yeah, I don't have much more to say, so let's roll on to the next one DiC episode, but 2 Japanese episodes.
Which I'm like, If anything, you gave us so many episodes about nothing, and then you give us like half of one of the greatest dual episodes.
There's so much murder.
What they cut out was very clearly censored for violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they had people that not bite it. And then all of what could be analogized to intimate partner violence in the second episode is very much trimmed down to get rid of most of that.
Yeah. Episode 40. What is our English dub title?
Day of Destiny.
And our Japanese title of episode 45 is the Death of the Sailor Guardians, the final battle.
Damn, give me the ending, why don't you?
Like, straight up, they love. Like, I'm still surprised they didn't say that Kunzite fucking bites it in the previous
they remarkable restraint on their part. This is combined with episode 46, Usagi's Eternal Wish, A Brand New Life.
And Sailor Denzel celebrating with us. We made it to the finale.
We made it all the way there. The big one.
40th final episode of the season. Let's do it.
Yep. All right. So let's get into this. We start off, a bunch of like natural disasters are happening in various places on Earth. The news is covering it. The girls meet up and they all henshin and they use Sailor Teleport together for the first time. Beautifully animated. It's very epic. And then they teleport off to Point D in the Arctic, which is where the evil volcano is. They're there, and Sailor Mercury, as Monica previously noted, is like, I'm getting strong evil readings that way. And that way, like 30 feet in front of them is literally the most evil looking purple smoking caldera you've ever seen in the middle of the Arctic. I think even Sailor Moon would have been getting evil readings in that direction. Let's pick for this comment. Our producer, which says it is legally permitted for a minor to live alone in Japan. However, the minimum age to rent an apartment is 18.
Okay. So that's one of those things where like it's loosely based on a thing that's real.
Right.
Like you can legally live alone, but you can't rent an apartment. You technically couldn't rent an apartment.
Yeah. Something's going on there. Yeah. All right. So let's get back to it. Mercury has just detected the evil caldera. They are intercepted by the Doom and Gloom girls, which is they are a group of 5 female Yoma who have volunteered to take on this mission because they are Beryl's very best. They create an illusion of like an injured, chained up Tuxedo Mask, and Sailor Moon like falls for it. She's like, oh shoot, she tries to run towards him. The other guys stop her. They're like, this is probably an illusion though. Yoma attacks them. They then change the illusion from Tuxedo Mask to Andrew. Sailor Jupiter runs forward to try to save him, and the Yoma get her. But while she's wrapped up with them, they're like electrocuting her, and she's like, bad play to electrocute me. She uses Supreme Thunder and takes down essentially one of the Yoma in doing so. But also, what is their conceit in DiC where they don't die? They're just taken.
Oh, they're gone. Like they're going to sleep.
They're going to sleep.
Like you don't. As a kid, I never understood it because like they don't tell you they're dead, but they don't tell you what happened. They're gone. They're like
just
little like
right
incapacitated, taken out.
Captured and incapacitated. Yeah, they're taken out. Okay. They're taken out. All right. So Jupiter gets taken out while taking down a Yoma with her.
Poor Max.
Max is back.
Hi, Max. Yeah. Sailor Moon is incredibly more sense in the Japanese where she's dead and she wants to give up. She's like, we never should have done this. I want to give Beryl the crystal. All of the other girls stop her. And in the Japanese, Mercury slaps her across the face and is like, pull yourself together. We can't let Jupiter sacrifice the invasion. Mercury detects that there are more Yoma up ahead, and she says, you guys go on ahead. I'll hold them off. We need the superior attack power from here on out. And Sailor Moon's like, but you won't die, right? And Mercury's like, no, I won't die. And she's like, you promise you won't die? And Mercury's like, yeah, I promise I won't die. She's lying. Sailor Moon is very skeptical of this, but she does go walk with Venus and Mars. The Yoma then shows an illusion of Greg being captured this time. The Yoma are very, like, they're sticking on this one track of, like, here's a person you like. They're chained up and in distress. You should go save them. But Mercury's like, that's the dumbest illusion I've ever seen. She wants to disrupt their ability to do illusions, so she allows herself, and I'm summarizing more from the Japanese here because it explains things better. She realizes that where she needs to attack in order to destroy their ability to cast illusions, she will need to get absorbed into a giant fireball that they're going to get pulled in. And she detects with her computer, she's like, this is my last time using it, detects the exact source of the illusions. She uses like her powers to destroy that and take away their ability to cast any further illusions. But in doing so, she also bites it. So from now on, the Yoma can't use illusions anymore. They just have to attack them. Next, the enemy, like Sailor Moon, can tell that Mercury also bit it. So she again is stunned. She falls to her knees. Venus notices the ground is now glowing under Sailor Moon. She shoves her out of the way to safety. And of course, then Venus takes the hit for her. She gets pulled down into a fiery vat where again, she's going to die. But being the absolute badass that she is, she crescent beams a Yoma straight to the forehead, point blank.
That's my favorite one.
It's so good. It is so badass. But in doing so, she also bites it. Sailor Mars, they're now running together. Sailor Mars tells Sailor Moon, like, it's been rough, but actually I've had a lot of fun being scouts together. Sailor Moon says, you know what, Mars? Why don't I do the rest from here on out? I'll finish doing these battles. Will you please just go home and be safe? And Mars says, no, you have an important battle up ahead. You need to conserve your strength for that. So I'm going to do this. And in Japanese, she's like, besides, we don't even know if I'll die. Off I go. She's very strong about it. The remaining two Yoma attack Mars from both sides. She doesn't know which side they'll come from. They manage to successfully encase her in ice. She's encased in this giant ice dome. They try to attack Sailor Moon, who's now left alone. But Mars is still firing off like fireball after fireball. They break through the ice, like vaporize whatever attack was coming for Sailor Moon. More fireball attacks. She clearly manages to kill one of the Yoma, and the ice collapses in on her. The last remaining Doom and Gloom girl like holds up Mars's dying body. Her immobilized body in the rubble, and is like, look, now all of your friends are dead, Sailor Moon. And Mars is like, I'm not fucking dead yet, like grabs the vine and like shoots another fireball up the vine, killing yet another of the Yoma. So now all the Doom and Gloom girls are dead, and then Mars fucking bites it. So it is, again, it's a very cool, they all get very cool death sequences. Sorry, immobilization sequences.
You mean she peacefully goes to sleep?
She peacefully goes to sleep. Sailor Moon like sits for a while and warns them until eventually the ghosts of all her friends come to cheer her up and remind her that she's not alone. Her courage is renewed and she runs forward. In the Japanese, that marks the end of episode 45. In the English, this, of course, is all like a 5-minute sequence in the first half of the episode.
Literally.
So let's get to the second half of the episode. Now that Moon is by herself, Beryl zaps her straight into the evil palace, and for the first time, she is finally confronted with Queen Beryl. There, she sees evil Prince Darien kissing Beryl's hand. Beryl orders him to kill Sailor Moon, so he gives it his best shot. He attacks her. She tries moon healing escalation on him. It has no effect. He attacks again. He wraps her up in rose vines and thorns and is electrocuting her with them. He then kicks her while she's down. He then choke electrocutes her until finally Beryl tells him to stop and then tells him to behead her. Beryl then decides to gloat at Sailor Moon for a minute and reminds her about her dead friends, which is the wrong call because that only motivates Sailor Moon is now in it emotionally. And she, at this moment, Tierra Magic's Darien straight to the chest, which we know is his weak spot. But even now, dying, he still gets up and tries to kill her again because he's super mega brainwashing on her. But she is on her knees crying and she holds out the locket, which then starts playing their music and it stops him from immediately beheading her. The music plays more. She's like, don't you remember me? We're in love, love. And she's out to touch the locket and gets purified by it. This really pisses Beryl off. Beryl then the giant crystal at her. Endymion throws a rose at the crystal to shatter it, and then he soaks all the shrapnel into his back, which is also his weak spot. But his rose, which went through the crystal, also stabs Beryl in the chest, and it appears that she's like semi-dying of the stab wound. Having done this, having gotten Tira magicked in the chest and crystal shrapneled in the Darion's. Meanwhile, Beryl floats down to another level of the palace. She appeals to Metalia for power. Metalia uses her as a vessel, basically. So now there's no one left alive except Beryl, Metalia, and Sailor Moon. So they both go outside to confront each other. Beryl Metalia is like the size of a skyscraper.
Yeah,
Sailor Moon
it's her boss form.
Yeah.
Her JRPG boss form.
She did successfully get hotter. She's like pale aqua colored with like green hair. It's a good look, I have to say. But so Sailor Moon goes out to confront her. She transforms into Princess Serenity. Cut back to Luna and Artemis sitting on the roof in the middle of a Tokyo blackout. Luna's worried that Sailor Moon will use the silver crystal. She doesn't want her to because she'll die. Artemis is like, yeah, but it's the only way to save the world now. And Luna's like, Sailor Moon, don't use the silver crystal or you'll die. Sailor Moon does, though. Again, I'm summarizing the Japanese because it's more interesting and longer. Metalia's like, why do you still defy me? This world is like so gross. And Princess Serenity, nah, I believe in this world that my friends were trying to protect. Then she goes into full Onagai Ginsmishu for the first time. She remembers her friends like cheerfully nurturing their own relationships. But in the DiC version, this is like her remembering, rooting for her, giving a message like, we haven't become good friends yet, or we still have to like chase boys together. And so she calls upon her to give her strength, and their ghost hands like join in with hers as they all call out their individual planet power calls. Their powers combine, and Metalia fucking fights it. Sailor Moon then does fall over dead. As she's dying, and as her power envelops the world, Usagi reminisces fondly about her small, like unimpressive life and how mundane it was, and how much joy it brings her, and that she wishes she could just go back to that. And the next morning, Usagi wakes up as usual, late for school. The cats observe that it's a miracle that they won and all the girls got reincarnated, albeit like no memories of being friends or Senshi. But then Luna and Artemis are like, yeah, but they'll definitely all meet and become friends again. And Usagi, having failed another test, throwing the crumpled up test behind her, and once again it hits Mabo on the head. Once again he calls her an equal head. And that's the episode. And that's the season.
Yep, that's the season. Good old end of season memory wipe.
Yo, you're on
a great restart.
She's Super Beryl, giant woman before we had Lady Dimitrescu. So true.
So true.
So true. Giant woman.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of notes about the DiC episode because it's 2 episodes trying to be 1 episode because we couldn't show no violence.
Yeah. So annoying.
Yeah, I have some notes that are just like, wow, these cuts, because dub cuts do not make sense.
No,
there's so much missing.
No.
They
My
are
notes-
like, when we watched that DiC episode, we were like, holy shit, that flew by at lightning fucking speed because they cut.
Yeah.
That was a whiplash. Like that whole episode, it was like, you're dead and you're dead and you're dead. And I'm like, wait, what? This was drawn out. And then we're like, no, it wasn't.
No.
This, of course, will start the time-honored tradition of everyone fucking dying at the end.
Yep.
This also, I don't know if this is true or not, but much like my friends I would like to have story, there's also the story that Takeuchi, she just wanted to write one arc and then end it like with them all dying, and then her editors were like, no, actually, this is really popular and we don't want you to do that. And she was like, okay, and then killed them off and resurrected them.
Yep.
That's so
I'm
funny.
going to do my ending where they all die.
Yeah.
Just bring them.
Just bring them back. I'm going to do this over and over again. This would be a theme. I think they don't all die at the end of the Black Moon Circus, though. I think that's like the one where they don't all die. Or do they? I don't remember.
No, I think that's correct.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
in the anime is not the standard for them all to die at the end of every season. That's season 1 and season 5, I think, are the only ones where they all die.
Right.
But
Don't they all
in
fight it in
manga-
3 too in
Do
the
they?
90s show? I think they do.
Do they?
Ura has an answer to the
Which one?
season 3. S, no, they do not die in S. The only S
Okay.
in are Pluto and Saturn, which makes sense.
Thank you, Erla.
That
That's
makes
right.
sense. Yeah, I think point D in the Arctic Circle is from the manga.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's directly from the manga. The Doom and Gloom girls, they're called the
DD
Japanese. Doom and Gloom girls, way better.
Doom
give it
so
a
much better. So much better.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't want to introduce the possibility that they're called the Double D girls.
We're coming in with the D point being the North
Yes.
Pole. Our manga canon. Okay.
One of my other notes just says that the Sailor teleport scene is sick as hell. I don't think the full Sailor teleport is in the DiC dub, which is just big knock against it.
I know. Like,
Yeah.
you took one of the most beautiful pieces of animation. It's so incredibly epic. The slow float of their hair as gravity starts to leave them as they power up for the teleport. The
So
way
good.
that then, like, the ground underneath them sinks down, like, collapses all of a sudden in a circle. Like, it's beautifully animated and it's so epic. And DiC savaged it as usual. DiC also cut out the initial scene with Usagi making her family a special curry. And,
Yes.
like, so
Aw.
she's trying to make peace with, like, potentially dying and, like, to try to have a final special moment with her family. And so she works really hard to cook them Japanese curry. You
That's
can
really
tell that it's going to
sweet.
be horrible because she's, like, covered in smoke. Like, she's a mess. It looks a little bit sloppy. They are very skeptical about eating it. And she takes the first bite and it is way too spicy for her. The point is that she really wanted to make this special meal for her family,
That's
which
so
is such
cute.
a nice moment. She then, when the girls meet up, she's the most pessimistic one. She's like, Ray, did you kiss Yuichiro goodbye? Like, you really should. What if you don't come back? And Ray's like, nah, don't you talk like that. Like, we're coming back. And then she's like, but Lita, what about you too? Didn't you say that you want to, like, go date and stuff? And blah, like, they are all the ones, like, she's feeling very pessimistic. And they all are more like, we have to treat this like we're coming back from the mission.
Oh
And
my
that all
God. When you think of it
such
like that.
savaged for DiC. Like, all of that emotional weight of the fact that we've been building up to making the decision to take on this mission. And they're 14-year-old girls who are all, like, just on the verge of different parts of, like, 14-year-old romantic escapades. And DiC was like, now we know that. Let's get to the action. So, yeah, all that basically gets cut up.
And Ura says, and Ami being all cute, shrinking into her scarf because she wants a boyfriend too. That's so cute. Oh man, I love the ending. The Doom and Gloom girls, despite being cut to heck and back, still make such an impression in the DiC dub.
For sure. Also,
I mean,
like,
go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, it's also one of those plot beat things where, like, in theory, they've been around the whole time. Like, they're the strongest Yomas, so, like, why didn't we just deploy them first? Because clearly they're good at their job. Like, you could have called a Doom and Gloom girls hit on Usagi in episode 1, and this whole thing would have been done with.
You would have won. The problem is Beryl is sexist, and she likes to make the captured and converted for Heavenly Kings do all the work for her. I think partly because she's like, you're expendable, you're men. And partly because I think that this is a power move for her because these were Endymion's generals and she has stolen them. Like, that's my read on it, is like, she wants to make them do all the work because she thinks they deserve to have to be doing all the work. And because she's like, those are my best girls. I'm not going to dispatch them on this shit mission. Like, why should they have to do something that you can't do? Like,
and to be her fair point, every time she
when the one, like, super good Yoma who was really horny for Jedi went and helped Jedi, and she's like, that was one of my best girls. How could you? I think it's genuinely that she just, like, doesn't like or respect the 4 generals, but does like that they work for her. So she wants to make them do all the stuff. She never treats them as though they're people that she respects or holds in high esteem. She always talks down to them and is always like, you've disappointed me so much. You're so shitty. Why haven't you accomplished the mission yet?
Beryl just likes to tell other people that they're shitty.
I think she one
That's one of
time
her
told Nephrate that like he did really good work. She was like, he didn't do the thing I told him to do, but he got a really good energy from this girl, Molly. You know what? Good job, Nephrate. Like one time.
What?
She told Nephrate he did good.
Oh my god. And then Era coming in saying they had to cut 46 minutes down to 22 minutes. So sadly, character development had to. Oh, you've seen
Yeah.
Sailor Moon Crystal, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then monsters of the day only exist when it's convenient for the plot. But why are they so good?
Oh, I was just say, I thought it was very funny that Usagi got zorped. She just
Yeah.
gets like hit by the evil one. It's so funny. It's such a
She just gets like put into a big like pinball and then just into the drink.
yeah. Okay, go ahead. Tell me what you're gonna say.
Oh, I was just like, so a lot of the complexities of the individual Senshi and like what they do in their battles with the Doom and Gloom girls are clearer in the Japanese version. So obviously my description was more explanatory of like what Mercury was doing, what Mars was doing. And to be clear, in the DiC dub, there's just like they're in a pinch, they do a last attack, they take out a Yoma as they die. Sorry, as they get incapacitated. But like to be clear, the clarity that I was providing in my summary was from the Japanese 2-episode version.
Julia once again reminded me that she hates Mamoru.
I mean,
Got it.
It's very valid in this episode. There's plenty of
Super
things
valid.
that would remind you of that.
Yeah. I have a note that says everyone is always getting evilly tied up. I really like a lot of the ways that the inners go out with a bang.
Yeah.
Jupiter's self-sacrifice. I like the way Ami smashes the gem that's causing the illusion with her computer. Venus just executes one of them. Just
straight up.
Just slap to the face.
Yep.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Just an execution. Just bang. As metal as fuck. While the DiC dub has Carry On playing during the iconic moment. The iconic moment. Like, I think there's a lot of iconic moments in the series, but like everyone putting their hands on the moonstick is like the Sailor Moon moment. Yeah.
Yeah,
That happens.
Carry On.
Yes, Carry On. But the Japanese reprises Moonlight Densetsu.
Yep.
In a way
It does
that's
have a longer instrumental in the middle, so it's not quite the opening version, but yeah.
I also really like. I think that's a good choice too. It's not like the My Only Love scene where the music in Japanese is like some smooth jazz, like some easy listening, some light rock. Like, no, I like the reprise of Moonlight Densetsu. I like it with the longer thing. I like it when a show at the end of its arc replays the theme song in a slightly different way. That's I think both really work. I presume they didn't have the rights to do that. And I also presume that if they played Fighting Evil by the Moonlight right then, it probably would have been a little funny. Yeah.
It wouldn't have hit like Carry On hits.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't think emotionally that I don't think that Moonlight Densetsu in that scene is as powerful as Moon Revenge in the R movie, because Moon Revenge is such a for that scene. Like, but I do think that it works really well because it does still have that like heroic climacticness to it.
Ura points out that it is the full album version of Moonlight Densetsu, technically not a reprise. I am using the word reprise to refer to a repeat of a piece of music, not the literal definition of a reprise, which is like the same song but shorter. Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have here? We get a good Mamoru background moment when he's like being cleansed. We get to learn a little bit about him. He also gets to pull off the single most effective rose throw in history.
Yes.
So good.
He's never been, and it like so much. So a lot of what got cut from the second episode was Endymion's confrontation with Sailor Moon, and obviously mostly for violence because it is very violent. And it's very clear to me why they made that choice. But as a result, it does take away from a lot of the gravitas of that scene and of the way in which he, the point at which that escalates before he then gets purified, and then the way in which he then bites it. So much of that is cut out that you lose the impact of his death. And then there's a scene that I didn't cover in my summary. After Mamo bites it, and Beryl is like sunken through the floor to go see Metalia, Sailor Moon is like hovering over Tuxedo Unmasked's dead body, and she goes to kiss him, and then she pulls back at the last moment and she says, "I'm so sorry, I can't kiss you because all of my friends who just died never got to kiss the boys that they care about. So it wouldn't be fair for me to kiss you too and experience that happiness." And then she says, "All right, I have to go now," and gets up and bravely walks off to do the final confrontation. It's again this very it's a more weighty and complex moment than DiC wanted to put into their final episode. So that gets cut as well.
Earl also calls out Beryl's shining, cracking cleavage. I also enjoy that the rose to the heart moment.
Yep.
A rose that can penetrate a sternum.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just the most successful his rose throw has ever been.
And actually, I like Ura's comment back here about Ami. The way Ami sacrifices herself because she doesn't think she's very useful is so heartbreaking. Because, she's not a character that I usually, gravitate towards. But really, that is such a sad scene.
She's grown on me a lot in this rewatch.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah.
It's really funny what characters end up growing on you when you're like, wait a minute, never mind. The way I remember this was not the way it is. At least to me.
Let's see. I think that a scene... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, Ura says she's my favorite Inner Senshi, Mercury.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
There's a lot of people who have a lot of love for her, which is nice. The nice thing I think about the series is that I don't think there are any Senshi who don't have a strong no, that's my girl.
Yeah. Well, I have an important thing to bring up for the last episode 46. If you were watching along at home on YouTube, flashing light warning.
Yeah,
there's a big
light.
strobing pulse of
100%.
energy, and I was like, "Ooh, that! Do not watch episode 46 or find when that starts happening or whatever. Pause it or something. I wish I had written down the timestamp, but
right. Yep.
Do be warned that there is some strobing lights in episode 46.
In episode 46, it's helpful to you to watch it in 0.5 speed during the part where you think a light might flash until you can see it and then pause appropriately. Try whatever approach works for you.
Can we
Or just don't watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Irani says, flashing lights warning on 45 as well. The lava pit with Minako is very flashing.
Okay.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout. One of the things that I think is, again, specific to the Japanese is the scene where Luna is, really hoping that Sailor Moon won't use the silver crystal because she doesn't want her to die. I don't think we get that in English, partly because they don't want to include the part where she would die.
I don't remember that at all.
That's important growth for Luna, and because Luna has all the time been you got to focus on the mission, we got to prep more for the mission, you got to train more, stop being so wide, and stop caring about your mortal life, all of these things. And at the end, where she realizes that Usagi is ready to die, Usagi has cooked a last meal for her family. Finally, Luna realizes she doesn't want her to die. And that she wants that so badly that even after Artemis says, "I get it, but it's the only way to save the world," she's still "Usagi, don't do it, don't die. If you use it, you'll die." I like that for Luna too, emotionally. I liked that in the Japanese, Metalia actually has an exchange with Princess Serenity as opposed to just "I will kill you." It's this whole why have you tried so hard to defy me, worth it, it isn't that great. And then Serenity is "No, I have faith in this world that my friends have all died trying to protect. In fact, I'm going to try and have even more faith in this world. Dead friends, please remind me of all the things that there are to believe in." And then she's in... I don't know which I like better as far as DiC or Japanese, the difference in how they handled the final ghost flashbacks in this moment. In DiC, each of the friends and gives her like ghost inspiration message. Ray's like, pull yourself together, crybaby. Let's kick this butt. And Mercury's like, I'll help you solve this problem, Serenity. And Lita's like, we've still got boys we've got to chase. And Nina's like, we haven't known each other long enough for it to end yet. So they're all like inspiration messages. In Japanese, that's not what they are. In Japanese, she's remembering all of her friends talking about the boys that they care about, the relationships that they want to have. It's like a flashback of Amy related to Yuichiro, or of Ray related to Yuichiro, one of Ami related to Rio, Greg. One of Lita is about like future romances that she wants to have. The one of Minako is a flashback to her recent episode and saying like, as long as Katarina and Alan are happy, that's all that matters to me. Like, it's their flashing back about their romantic relationships. And so in a way, I like that the DiC didn't choose to focus on that. But I think it also is very reflective of something that we talked about right at the beginning of the season, which is the difference in how they have positioned this series and the audience they are courting. When you look at the opening for the DiC, it is very fighting focused. It's battle focused. It's all about like Sailor Moon goes in and fights the enemy, and like also she wins love. She's got friends who fight with her. All the scenes are of combat. Whereas Moonlight Densetsu, this is a bunch of like weird carnival hot air balloon scenes of essentially Usagi and Mamo, and the lyrics to Moonlight Densetsu are just very overtly romantic. And I think that's a key difference in how you see even the ending here positioned, that the Japanese version is so much more romance forward and doesn't necessarily assume that it is minimizing for a series aimed at girls to forefront girl romances.
Yeah.
So I think like I can see that it clearly had a different motivation. So I don't hate DiC focusing on the power of friendship more than the romantic angle. But I also think that the Japanese version was being true to itself in going in that direction.
Definitely.
Yeah. I like that. I like that thought on it.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to look at it.
I had also a note that's like, this ending is a very interesting parallel, having just watched the first half of Cosmos, which is another death march.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
A similar one, paced differently because it's a movie. Like I almost went off on a tangent about my complicated feelings about Sailor Moon Crystal, which I both like and don't like.
Do though.
Okay, sure.
On the show all the time.
All the time. That's fine. Sure. I both really like Crystal because I really like the manga, but like I think the first two seasons of it are plagued by pacing issues because it didn't really adapt the written form into an animated form in the way that the movies pull off extremely well.
I literally had this conversation with my dad.
Oh yeah?
Literally the exact conversation. I was like, the problem is that when you're adapting the manga and you're adapting something that is in a sequential art medium, you cannot adapt it to an episode with the same pacing that it had in the manga, because it doesn't have the same pacing when you're experiencing a battle. Might take 8 pages of your 30-page manga, but it takes 30 seconds of your animated feature. You can't expect that to feel like it's paced the same way. So you can't adapt manga directly to animation and expect the pacing to work. That's why it works so much better adapting the Cosmos or the Stars arc into the movies, because that captures the correct pacing for that story movement. As literally, that's what I was talking to my dad about.
Yeah, and I would almost like to see just see everything as a movie. Like,
yeah,
Eternal is good, Cosmos is good. I would really like to see the other two as 2-part movies. Like, I would really love it to be a series of 10 films instead of 3 series and more movies because the movies really hit the right pace. The 2.5-hour films is just it's really long. It's paced perfectly.
Story.
Yeah. Yeah. You can watch us react to Cosmos on Patreon right now. It's if you're a patron.
If you're a patron.
Yeah. So we'll give us one whole American dollar and you can watch us react right now. Is that someone drilling upstairs?
Yeah, sorry.
It's just
It's okay.
it was either sounded like someone operating like a sander or a drill or a shop vac, and I was just trying to figure out what.
No, it's just been a long day.
Yeah.
And then we got a bunch of comments from
something about 90s Usagi that we don't see in Crystal is that she never truly gives up. She doesn't give up on Mamoru the entire time he's possessed and doesn't stop until she heals him. Manga Usagi takes a sword to him pretty damn quick by comparison. Yeah. I think Manga Usagi is slightly more of I was going to say a hard ass, but that's not the right word. She's slightly more of an action hero. She's pretty decisive. They baby her up a bit for the TV show. And in the manga, she's decisive and willing to act.
Yes.
Much more willing to be stab. Oh, you were interfering with my friends? Time to explode. You almost have to look at them as either two different characters or the way people often look at superhero characters where it's this is the same character, but they're written by this author versus this author. And so it's two different takes on the same person.
Yeah.
You almost have to look at them that way.
Correct. And then something else Ura said, I think I got a little bit of time. The DiC opening is definitely a superhero anthem because in the 90s we didn't have anything like this aimed at girls. So for how it was handled for people who didn't know how to handle it, I don't think they did too bad.
No, I think again, I'm a strong proponent of the DiC opening. I think that it's selling it in a different way, but it still does a good job of pulling you in. And
yes, and then I try to be lenient on Crystal season 1 to 2 with knowledge of the struggle of the creative teams, especially knowing we had a first time people working on it. Is it still bad? Yes, but I'm not gonna tear it apart too hard. Yeah. No, that's Az likes to tear it apart, but lovingly tear it apart.
Yeah. But Az is also a giant manga fan.
True.
Me. And it's not a great adaptation of the manga. Which is unfortunate because I really fucking like the manga.
I know, and that's the problem. And that's why I understand the anger.
Yeah. One is that if you watch all the way to the end of Japanese episode 46, you will in fact after the credits get an ending preview for Sailor Moon R. And the title of that first Sailor Moon R episode does give the indication that what Sailor Moon R stands for is Sailor Moon Returns.
Oh,
yeah. I noticed that and I was like, oh, Sailor Moon R is Sailor Moon Returns. And the whole time you look at the various Sailor Moon R, Sailor Moon S, Sailor Moon Super S, what's it stand for? So I think given the indication in the episode is that Sailor Moon R stands for Sailor Moon Returns.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've been on a journey. I think from where we started, the characters have grown a lot. It was nice to grow on that journey with them. This season it was a lot of fun.
It has some real low points though.
Oh, it absolutely does. But interestingly, because there were entire months where we were basically just sifting through 5 crap episodes and trying to find nuggets of what was worthwhile in them. That forced me to appreciate more things because I was looking for things that were adding value or contemplating what's worth keeping in this, what could be done differently to bring out positive aspects. Because we had such a slow sift through of the episodes, I felt like I was forced to appreciate them more.
Yeah.
So,
I
honestly.
Agree. Yeah, I once watched through all of it with my friend Brian. I don't think Michi knows my friend Brian. I don't think you've ever met him. But yeah, I once watched through most of it. And when I say most of it, we used a fan here's how to watch the plot guide. And it was very much if you want to skip boring filler, these are the episodes that advance the plot. And so we watched through that way. We did not watch a straight through watch through. including things like skipping a bunch of the middling episodes where Usagi's by herself. And so, like, I have watched through the whole damn thing with a friend before using that kind of guide. And, like, that is a pretty fun experience. But watching everything and taking it a little slow, I think also made me appreciate some of those things more. And also gave us things to laugh about on stream.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it made me appreciate the trash talk of the most. Like, somehow that is the best writing.
It was some of the, like, since we're at the end, maybe we should just celebrate the high points of the DiC dub, because we did start by being like, yeah, it's bad. It's not any good. I can tell you right now, it's not very good.
Yep. We were like, just go in, know that it's bad. It's bad.
It is. And then real quick though, Ura says it's nice being able to come say hello again. Hopefully to come this fall, I'll be here more. I'm glad.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, we're gonna take a month off, but don't worry, we're gonna watch Sailor Moon Cosmos, and we're gonna have a big party. But we'll talk about that at the end. But
yeah, we are taking September off. We needed a little bit of a break.
Yeah, we're gonna take a little break between seasons. We'll probably do this for every season.
Oh,
Do
I
you
want to
DiC
go back to the thing where we hit the high points of DiC.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about the high points.
Yeah, fucking music.
It's been long established, like Bob Summers and all of the other folks who were involved in the individual sung through songs, just like
So good.
absolutely magnificent, genuinely in so many instances better than the Japanese version. Like it amplified the emotions of so many of the moments. It raised my excitement and my enthusiasm. He crushed it through and through. Like, great work, Bob.
The music, number one thing. The funny trash talk, number two thing. That's about all I got. Does anybody have anything else they want to highlight?
Yeah, the voice acting. I genuinely think that a lot of the voice acting is really strong. The characters' voices are so distinct. And even the ones where, like, I didn't think the voice acting was as strong, like in the early episodes with Mercury, having gone back and read the interview with her where she talked about how she found that voice and how she developed it, gave me an appreciation for what she was specifically trying to accomplish by making her sound a little stiff and awkward. Every character sounds completely distinct from every other character. You could close your eyes and know exactly who's talking. And they bring a lot of very lively and cartoonish emotion that is actually really hard to accomplish from an acting standpoint. I think often it can actually be easier to convincingly sell a line that is delivered in an authentic human way than to convincingly sell a line in an over-the-top way, in the way that Terry Hawks just excels at.
Yes. Yeah.
So much.
You're totally right about the voice acting, and I was going to be critical of it, but it's not the voice acting that's bad. It's the script.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, the
Yeah.
voice acting is outstanding. The
And
actual
many times
craft
they are
of the
doing
act-
their best.
Yeah,
with-
yeah.
They're doing their best with some janky lines.
Yeah. The script, dog shit. The voice acting, incredible.
Actually great.
Yeah, actually great.
Oh my
Full
god.
of heart.
They work so hard at it.
Yep.
And they, like, a lot of the interviews and stuff talk about how they really gave a shit and how a bunch of them were like, oh, there's never been a superhero show for girls before. Like,
It was groundbreaking back in the day.
As you said, like the difference between the script versus the voice acting, let's consider how hard Malachite's voice actor had tried to sell us McQueen.
McQueen.
He was forced
Queen.
multiple-
Queen.
and he was like, I'll give it my best.
I also really
He
love
didn't
when
like that.
the Canadian just jumps right out of his voice.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to hear Terry Hawks just be extra and cartoonish and delightful, she is a voice in the new Bee and Puppy Cat.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh,
I'm
and
there
then
for it.
Ura coming in saying, I was watching an interview with Terry Hawks, and one of the reasons her voice acting is so full of life is because her background is in theater. That's what she went to school for.
Yeah, she has a theater voice. It's fantastic.
Oh, and then also saying, I'm so excited for season 2. We'll get 3 of my favorite DiC songs, which are 3 of my favorite.
Ray
Rainy
Damon.
Day, man. I
On
can't
his
say.
shoulder, I cried.
On his
my
shoulder,
first brush with love left me shaking inside. Like, yeah, no, I knew all the songs.
So Jupiter coded. Oh,
Yep.
Starry Night. And then you
Great
got to
song.
believe in the power
Power
of
of
love.
love. Yep.
So excited.
Yeah, some bangers.
Like, DiC knew how to deliver music.
Yep.
But I really love the ending to season 1, even if it is cut up to hell and back. Because I rewatched this in the Viz dub, and it makes so much more sense because you get both episodes.
Yep. It's amazing how many feels I felt in the watching the DiC original episode with how much was cut out of it.
Like, how did we actually get attached to this series when it was so cut up?
Because it's still a compelling story. Like, the story itself, they didn't retell Sailor Moon completely. Like, even though they changed some of the context for what is happening, the story itself is basically the same. Like, the major beats are there, the major characters are there, the main conflict is there. Some details are missing, but, like, a good story is a good story.
Yep. While this is not DiC specific, I want to take a moment to appreciate the animation in the 90s anime. I think, setting aside the horny animation team, generally, especially for the time in which this was made, a lot of anime, regardless of target audience, was a lot hornier across the board. There were a lot more like panty shots, jiggling anatomy, all of that kind of like male gaze stuff. And even in the horny animation team episodes, it's not nearly as Tenchi Muyo, Ranma 1/2, great example. Like, yeah, I think like especially given the time in which this anime was made, like actually it's done in a way that respects its audience visually. I think I like how they adapted. Like, obviously, if you look at Crystal, they try to hew more towards the manga art style. And in this, they were trying to adapt it to a less stylized style, but I think one that still keeps to the spirit and visuals of the characters. I think the animation is generally pretty nice, other than the horny animation team, who are the most off model and the most horny. So yeah, I really like the animation.
I agree. I think it's fun. Definitely still like primarily a manga fan, but this also reminded me that the show is real fun.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm going to give a shout out to DiC for is the Sailor Moon says, like, cute. You know what? Like, they're not for us. They're not for adults. They're for the younger viewers. And like, I think there's something nice in the idea that at the end of the episode, Sailor Moon is a role model talking directly to her youngest fans and trying to impart lessons to them. Yes, some of the lessons are a stretch.
They're often a big stretch. Ooh, big stretch.
But like, they're still trying to impart lessons. And I find that sweet and wholesome. No one is harmed by the existence of Sailor Moon says. It doesn't undermine anything about the storytelling.
God,
and
no.
again, it's like, it's not for me. I don't look at it like it was aimed at me, the 16 or 17-year-old who was watching these episodes. It's for little kids, and I think it's cute.
We've been plenty critical of it throughout the course of this series. So if you want to hear that, just go rewatch us talking about it, or go subscribe to us on Patreon and see all our reactions. Just saying.
Yep, all the old ones are free.
Mm-hmm.
They're already up there. They're free.
It was just fun to be critical of them.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. We have to have a good laugh because, like, we are grown adults watching and analyzing the quality of the advice given out on Sailor Moon Says and how much it does or does not relate to the episode. You know, it's have fun with it. But even in instances where it clearly does not relate to the episode, there's still no harm in wholesome advice for kids at the end of every episode.
Yes, of course. No, not at all.
Yeah.
With that, do we want to wrap up?
Yeah, why not? Oh, what did Ura finish say? Oh, Sailor Moon says, Ura says, my favorite Sailor Moon says come in season 2. I can post it in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
Someone may be cute, but if that someone hurts you or make you feel badly about yourself in any way, it's time to get help and move on. You deserve the best. Don't settle for less.
Genuinely a good message. Yeah.
Like, that is a good Sailor Moon says. Okay, you're right.
When you said it was your favorite, I wasn't sure if what direction that was going to go in. Like, genuinely good advice, or the weirdest, or you're the weirdest shit you've ever seen. I wasn't.
Pressure.
You're like, after an episode about not killing people, she's like, remember to always take care of your teeth, flush the toilet, take a shower. Like,
I love that. Yeah, no, because they do. Some of them are so bizarre and they have nothing to do with the episodes even close.
Yeah.
What was the
Some
Doom
of
and
them
Gloom
are-
Girls episode?
Oh god,
I
I don't
don't-
remember.
I don't remember if the final episodes had a Sailor Moon says. They might not.
Can you imagine it? Hey kids, if your friends
But
will die,
I still remember like the Ray's grandpa Rainbow Crystal Carrier episode where the Sailor Moon says was like, sometimes old people go senile, and that's a little bit weird. But try to remember they have lots of stuff to teach us too. Respect your elders. They're great.
So, and with that, we come to the end of our show. Thank you for joining us for Bishoujo Senshi Slumber Party Sailor Moon DiC Dub episodes 36 through 40 discussion.
As always, our fellow Moonies, check us out on all our socials and follow us to find out the next time we're going to go live. You can find our links on our link tree in the description. And don't forget to tune into Eternal Mooncast stream as Michi and Azira, and special for this episode, producer Loki, along with myself and Relia, will go on another Moony lore deep dive from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern as we go on to talk about Sailor Moon Cosmos the movie.
Hell yeah. Oh my god, look at our big preview image. We're all
look at
on
us.
there.
Look at how cute we are.
It is.
That-
It's gonna
that-
be wild.
That photo of me is like 8 years old.
Do you know how hard I had to work to find it?
I'm been your co-host Monica, and if you want to know what I'm up to and interested in, feel free to follow me at Dice-Wizard on Tumblr and Blue Sky. Just as a note, I don't really update the Blue Sky, but you can go ahead and follow me. Sometimes it's Sailor Moon, but often it isn't. Many surprises await you.
I've been your co-host, Relia. If you like what I do and you want to follow me on social media, you can find my most active socials popping up on the screen below. Or if you want to follow my cosplay adventures, you can find me on Instagram at Relia Laughdamon. If you want to follow my artwork, I'm on Twitter at Shazari, on Tumblr at Art Crystals, and on Blue Sky at Relia. Thank you, as always, for supporting the show, and join us for our next slumber party, which will be on October 19th.
Yes, and as always, I've been your host, Michi. You can find my personal socials at MEW21 across the web, some _ cosplay. I also stream gaming and K-pop, usually on Sunday. Tomorrow, the current game is Persona 3 Reload, and I'll be streaming from 12 to 2 Eastern, maybe longer, depends on how I feel. And K-pop will be on Tuesday this week for a twice marathon. For our parent show, Eternal Mooncast, you can find previous episodes of our show on YouTube. This episode will be coming out not this Monday, but the Monday after at 7 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate any likes, comments, follows, or whoever you'd like to support our show in your own way. As a quick reminder, these are just our personal opinions, and we celebrate all respectful Mooney opinions here. And have a good